I am thrilled to introduce Governor Christie for lots of reasons, but especially because we share two important things in common. We've both spent significant portions of our career engaged in the joyous pursuit of suing politicians. And more important, we're both from New Jersey. Christie is making it happen in New Jersey, and if he can do it there, we can do it everywhere. From one Jersey boy to another. Go get him, Governor. Governor Christie.
Thank you all very much. So listen, at the beginning of Clint's introduction, talking about the taxes and the spending and the bad economy in New Jersey, I said, Jesus, he's depressing me. Just give a good speech here, you're bringing me down. But he picked it up at the end, and that was good. And so for me to be here tonight at the institute named after the man who gave Ronald Reagan his start is an extraordinary moment for me and for Mary Pat in our lives, and your being here honors us greatly. In the 8 years that Jim McGreevey and John Corzine ruled in New Jersey, taxes and fees were increased at the state level 115 times in 8 years. John Corzine alone in his 4 years raised taxes $9 billion. He led an expansion of government that was breathtaking. And upon our victory in November and during the transition, when I met with the former governor, he told me that, don't worry about it, you have a $500 million surplus for fiscal year 10 and you'll just ride that baby home till June. Got some problems to deal with in fiscal 11, but don't worry about it, you'll be okay. Well, a couple things happened. First, on the day I was inaugurated, we heard that morning that the governor was going to send tens of millions of dollars in gifts to our state's cities in the form of additional aid before I got to Trenton, literally hours before I got to Trenton. And so I told my cabinet secretary, as soon as I get my hand off that Bible, you walk off the stage and get on the phone and tell the Treasury to not send any money out of the Treasury by order of the governor. It's not a happy story. As Republicans do, our inaugural ran like clockwork. At 5 seconds to noon, the Chief Justice stood up, stood across from me, and by about 20 seconds after 12 noon, I had completed the oath of office, and I saw my cabinet secretary, Lou Getting, scurrying off the stage, cell phone in hand, and when my inaugural speech was done sometime later, and I left off the stage, I grabbed Lou and he said, he wire transferred out tens of millions of dollars at 10:30 a.m. this morning, an hour and a half before you took the oath of office. This was the governing mentality of the Corzine administration. 2 days later, my state treasurer came to me and said, some news on that $500 million surplus. He said, it's a $2.2 billion deficit. And we have 5 months to fix it. We were already 7 months into the fiscal year. So I had two choices. Remember now, I have a Democratic legislature, Democratic State Senate, and Democratic lower house. And so I had two choices. One would be to sit down with the leaders of the legislature and try to negotiate a way to cut $2.2 billion from the budget, knowing that they were wringing their hands with glee, that they were going to have to force the new governor in the first few weeks of his term to raise taxes in order to close his budget gap. Or could decide to impound $2.2 billion in spending by executive order. Now, for those of you who have watched any of my videos on YouTube, which one do you think I picked? For those of you who said negotiate with the legislature, the exits are there. You are not prepared for this speech. Go in the back, up the escalators, and drive home safely. Mr. Coppola, the head of the Bergen County Education Association, put out an email urging members to pray for my death. People say, why don't you meet with the president of the Teachers Union, Governor? Why don't you meet and sit down and talk with her? I have. After that email was sent out, she put out an official apology and called the office to speak to me about it. And I said, well, she's just across the street. So I said, our chief of staff, why don't you welcome her over? She can apologize in person. So I invited her over. She came into the office and I sat down at my desk and she sat across from me and we both looked at each other. I said, oh. And she said, yes. And I said, I'm returning your call. This is my return of your call. What do you have to say? I said, oh, well, Governor, I obviously we think that what was said was inappropriate and we apologize. I said, well, thank you, that's very nice. I appreciate that. I said, you're going to fire him, right? She said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, one of your guys sent that email praying for me to die. Like, that certainly is a fireable offense, right? She said, well, he doesn't directly work for me. He's voted in by his members. I said, all right, and we're going to play that game. Okay. Certainly you're going to call upon him to resign. And she said, no, I'm not. I said, see, this is what I don't understand about you people. I said, if my chief of staff, who was sitting in the chair next to her, I said, if he had sent out that email praying for your death, there would have been 5,000 teachers on the front steps of the State House screaming and yelling for him to be fired, and you would have been too late, because I would have already fired him. If a student sent out that email praying for the death of his teacher, he would have been suspended from school and sent to mandatory counseling. Yet if a teachers union leader does it, it's no big deal. I looked at her and said, listen, you may have gotten used to living by this double standard, but that double standard doesn't exist anymore. I stood up and said, good day. So we have important issues to discuss. Education in New Jersey. I said, not with me, you don't. I said, you can come and talk to me when he's out of his job, not 1 minute before. She stood up and said, Governor, you're not a prosecutor anymore. Don't treat me like I'm a criminal. You're not a prosecutor anymore, you're a governor. And I said, I am aware. I am aware. I said, but good day. Now, you need to understand at this point, temperatures got a little bit higher and there was a little additional yelling back and forth that probably be inappropriate for me to detail here. My chief of staff is a wonderful guy, former state legislator, former senior executive at the Pfizer Corporation, and a very low-key, understated guy. He had quite never seen anything like this before. And so when she finally says, I won't be spoken to that way, good day, and she goes to leave, my poor chief of staff doesn't know what to do at this point. And he says, thanks oh so much for coming by. And when she cleared the room, I said to him, thanks oh so much for coming by.